Wilson limping a little as he goes up to...
Well, he got hit after he let go of that ball. He stood fast in the pocket and threw it that time.
They pick up the flag.
Well, it's a question here. Do you want to take the 13 yards on the pass or the 15 yards on the penalty? With just 6 seconds remaining here in the first half.
Either way, they can't put the time back on the clock, so it's really academic what he takes. I think he's going to refuse it, though. He gets 2 more yards if he refuses it. At any rate, it's going to be 1st and 10, Cabrillo.
Interference penalty is being refused. The ball at the 31-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10, Cabrillo. That's Smart's second reception.
A good catch that time, too, and Cabrillo calling their last time out, and wisely so, and I think they're going to try a field goal.
Into the field comes number 25, Mike Sullivan, and he's got the kicking tee in hand. Jay Tiemann will hold
at the 38-yard line, so this will be a 48-yard attempt.
48-yard field goal attempt by Mike Sullivan. And we have no idea whether or not Sullivan has the leg to do this. Certainly he's shown, especially in that first ball game up at San Luis Obispo, that he can kick the ball a long ways.
Well, there's no doubt he can kick it 48 yards. I'm just wondering if he can kick it that far accurately. And a lot's going to depend on the snap from center if Tiemann can get the ball down.
6 seconds remaining here on the clock in the first half. Cabrillo leads it by a score of 7-0, trying to put 3 more on before they go into the locker room at halftime. A game that looked like it was going to be just wide open, go for broke. Both teams coming out very successful with the passing attack. Cabrillo scoring right away. And then it's a series of mistakes having halted both teams in their tracks. So Sullivan now ready to go out of the hole to Jay Tiemann. The ball is up. It'll be short and wide.
And that'll do it. So the kick no good, and at the end of the first half, Cabrillo leads in the ball game. Cabrillo 7, Dos Pueblos nothing, and we'll be back with the halftime stats after this. We're at halftime, ladies and gentlemen, with the score Cabrillo 7, Dos Pueblos nothing, and Gene has some stats here in the first half.
Well, in the first half, Ernie, pretty much is evident to what we said all along. The Cabrillo Conquistadors have really controlled the first half, even though they haven't been able to cross the goal line. For Cabrillo, they have 3 rushers, all 3 of those starting backfield people with good yardage, a total of 118 yards on the ground. The leader is the quarterback, Fitz Wilson, with 67 yards and 8 carries. The 3 people who have caught passes off the arm of Fitz Wilson: Scott Duncan with 4 receptions for 40 yards, Tim Smart with 2 receptions, and Morgan pulled one down for a total of 77 yards passing. That's a total of 195 yards in the first half. Wilson 60% and even 6 for 10 in the air. They've suffered 5 penalties for 55 yards. Rod Davis scored at 7:03 remaining in the first quarter from 5 yards out, and Mike Sullivan tacked on the point after. The story is a little bit grimmer, however, for the Chargers from Dos Pueblos. They have 2 people carrying the ball, McDonald and Caesar. They've carried a total of 6 times for 26 yards is all. 3 receivers, each with 1 reception for 15 yards, a total for the first half of only 41 yards of offense. And they're very lucky they're only behind by 7 points. Gary Trent, the quarterback, 3 for 9 from in the air, 33%. They've had 3 penalties for 15 yards, but the story is they've lost the ball twice to fumbles to the Conquistadors. And the score after 1 half of play is Cabrillo 7 and the Chargers nothing.
Well, I think the big thing there is the 55 yards in penalties that Cabrillo has. Cabrillo being able to move the ball, but not getting it into the end zone. And I hope, as I said early in the ball game, that doesn't come back to haunt them here in the second half. Dos Pueblos will receive the ball for the kickoff here to start the third quarter, and we'll be back with that after this.
Just seconds now away from the opening kickoff for the second half. Number 12, Brian Grant, will foot the ball for the Conquistadors. Back deep to receive for the Chargers, number 47, Ken Esparza, and number 32, Doug McDonald. Dos Pueblos really needing to put something together here in the third quarter early to get them back into the ball game. And they're really not out of it, even though the offense has been sputtering. Grant puts the ball at the 1 yard line, taken by Ken Esparza. And an end is put to Esparza's progress somewhere inside the 15 mark at the 14-yard line. Would be 1st and 10 Chargers, and that was quite a kick by Brian Grant.
It was quite a kick, and I thought at first that Esparza was going to let it go into the end zone, but at the last moment, he elected to try to bring it out, and he'd done better if he'd have let it go in there.
Well, that ball took a funny hop right there at the 1 and looked like it was coming back upfield, and I don't know that he had much of a choice. 1st and 10 at their own 14-yard line. The Chargers needing to put something on the board. The quarterback, number 17, Trent, gives the ball to Darren Caesar. And Caesar moves the ball to the 21-yard line to pick up a 7 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 3. Caesar with 27 yards in the first half. Scott Begg back in the ballgame, splits wide to the left. Pierce comes right. The give is to number 32, McDonald. And Doug McDonald brings the ball up across the 25-yard line. So the Chargers out like a house of fire.
Well, they're coming out with a vengeance here in the third quarter. And very quickly, we get Terry Brantley into the game at linebacker, replacing Scott Duncan.
1st and 10, the ball at the 26-yard line. Once again off tackle. Doug McDonald gets 1 on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 9, the ball at the 27-yard line. We're just into the second half. Cabrillo leads at 7-0. This drive starting at their own 14-yard line. The Chargers trying to put something up. Begg wide to the right. Trent across the middle looking for the tight end Abbott. And Abbott with the ball up to the 35-yard line before being crunched down by number 20, Mike Marcelli.
And a good pattern run that time by Abbott.
8-yard pickup will make it 3rd down and 1 for the Chargers. And Ernie, they look like they want it.
Well, they've come out here in the third quarter with a little determination and moving the ball well against the Conks here early in the quarter.
3rd down and 1. To give to number 43, Darren Caesar. And Caesar gets the yard. It'll be 1st and 10, Chargers. Scott Duncan in on the stop. First and 10 at the 37 for the Chargers. The Chargers now finding some running room off tackle. Pierce comes right. That's Webb out left. McDonald and Caesar in the backfield with Gary Trent, the quarterback. Trent to throw again. Looking for Pierce. And a ball thrown on the wrong side and falls harmlessly incomplete.
And we have another Charger down, number 78, Alex Aramia down, and he also holding his ankle. So with 9 minutes, 1 second left to play here in the third quarter, Cabrillo on top 7-0. We'll be back after this message from Minuteman. We're at halftime, ladies and gentlemen, with the score Cabrillo 7, Dos Pueblos 0. And Gene has some stats here of the first half.
Well, in the first half, Ernie, it pretty much is evident to what we've said all along. The Cabrillo Conquistadors have really controlled the first half, even though they haven't been able to cross the goal line. For Cabrillo, they have 3 rushers, all 3 of those starting backfield people with good yardage, a total of 118 yards on the ground. The leader is the quarterback, Fitz Wilson, with 67 yards and 8 carries. The 3 people who have caught passes off the arm of Fitz Wilson Scott Duncan with 4 receptions for 40 yards. Tim Smart with 2 receptions, and Morgan pulled one down for a total of 77 yards passing. That's a total of 195 yards in the first half. Wilson 60% and even 6 for 10 in the air. They've suffered 5 penalties for 55 yards. Rod Davis scored at 7:03 remaining in the first quarter from 5 yards out, and Mike Sullivan tacked on the point after. The story is a little bit grimmer, however, for the Chargers from Dos Pueblos. They have 2 people carrying the ball, McDonald and Caesar. They've carried a total of 6 times for 26 yards is all. 3 receivers, each with 1 reception for 15 yards, a total for the first half of only 41 yards of offense. And they're very lucky they're only behind by 7 points. Gary Trent, the quarterback, 3 for 9 from in the air, 33%. They've had 3 penalties for 15 yards, but the story is they've lost the ball twice to fumbles to the Conquistadors. And the score after 1 half a play is Cabrillo 7 and the Chargers nothing.
Well, I think the big thing there is the 55 yards in penalties that Cabrillo has. Cabrillo being able to move the ball, but not getting it into the end zone. And I hope, as I said early in the ball game, that doesn't come back to haunt them here in the second half. Dos Pueblos will receive the ball for the kickoff here to start the third quarter, and we'll be back with that after this.
Once upon a time, a scant 105 years ago, there was a little general store beginning to serve the Lompoc Valley. At that time, it was known as G.W. Moore Store. Moore's department store has since expanded to provide you with the latest fashions available. The sportswear and dress departments are alive with the collections of fall. For the men, there's a department-wide clearance sale in a grand opening style fashion, all in celebration of the recently expanded men's department. It includes the latest fall lineup. And guys, you'll want to be sure and check out the Allen St. George label by Moore's department store. It's tailored and designed to get that second look. Remember, there's greater values at Moore's department store and the same friendly service you've been receiving for 105 years. Moore's department store in downtown Lompoc.
Just seconds now away from the opening kickoff for the second half. Number 12, Brian Grant, will foot the ball for the Conquistadors. Back deep to receive for the Chargers, number 47, Ken Esparza, and number 32, Doug McDonald. Dos Pueblos really needing to put something together here in the third quarter early to get them back into the ball game. And they're really not out of it, even though the offense has been sputtering. Grant puts the ball at the 1 yard line, taken by Ken Esparza. And an end is put to Esparza's progress somewhere inside the 15 mark at the 14-yard line. Would be 1st and 10 Chargers, and that was quite a kick by Brian Grant.
It was quite a kick, and I thought at first that Esparza was going to let it go into the end zone, but at the last moment, he elected to try to bring it out, and he'd done better if he'd have let it go in there.
Well, that ball took a funny hop right there at the 1 and looked like it was coming back upfield, and I don't know that he had much of a choice. 1st and 10 at their own 14-yard line. The Chargers needing to put something on the board. The quarterback, number 17, Trent, gives the ball to Darren Caesar. And Caesar moves the ball to the 21-yard line to pick up a 7 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 3. Caesar with 27 yards in the first half. Scott Begg back in the ballgame, splits wide to the left. Pierce comes right. The give is to number 32, McDonald. And Doug McDonald brings the ball up across the 25-yard line. So the Chargers out like a house of fire.
Well, they're coming out with a vengeance here in the third quarter. And very quickly, we get Terry Brantley into the game at linebacker, replacing Scott Duncan.
1st and 10, the ball at the 26-yard line. Once again off tackle. Doug McDonald gets 1 on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 9, the ball at the 27-yard line. We're just into the second half. Cabrillo leads at 7-0. This drive starting at their own 14-yard line. The Chargers trying to put something up. Big wide to the right. Trent across the middle looking for the tight end Abbott. And Abbott with the ball up to the 35-yard line before being crunched down by number 20, Mike Marcelli.
And a good pattern run that time by Abbott.
8-yard pickup will made it 3rd down and 1 for the Chargers. And Ernie, they look like they want it.
Well, they've come out here in the 3rd quarter with a little determination and moving the ball well against the Conks here early in the quarter.
3rd down and 1. To give to number 43, Darren Caesar. And Caesar gets the yard. It'll be 1st and 10, Chargers. Scott Duncan in on the stop. First and 10 at the 37 for the Chargers. The Chargers now finding some running room off tackle. Pierce comes right. That's Webb out left. McDonald and Caesar in the backfield with Gary Trent, the quarterback. Trent to throw again. Looking for Pierce. And a ball thrown on the wrong side and falls harmlessly incomplete.
And we have another Charger down, number 78, Alex Aramia down, and he also holding his ankle. So with 9 minutes, 1 second left to play here in the 3rd quarter, Cabrillo on top 7-0. We'll be back after this message from Minuteman.
Minuteman Medical Supply provides you with a complete selection of hospital supplies and equipment for convalescing at home. Equipment that is designed for the comfort of the patient and convenience of the family. 4 major brands of wheelchairs are available for your selection: Theradyne, Everest and Jennings, Invocare, and Stainless. For rentals, sales, and service, consult with Minuteman Medical Supply Company at 1501 East Chestnut in Lompoc.
9:01 left, the 2nd down for Dos Pueblos.
Trent being rushed by the defense, gets it out to McDonald, and McDonald's got some room to run. He breaks a number of tackles. And a fine individual effort by Doug McDonald as he brings the ball across midfield up to the Cabrillo 46-yard line. Doug McDonald that time showing a great deal of heart. Terry Brantley a little bit shaken up on that play. It'll be 1st and 10 at the Cabrillo 46-yard line. On the option, Trent back to McDonald. Vincent Flowers is clipped at the 41-yard line, and McDonald finally run out of bounds by Brian Grant at the Cabrillo 34. And a lot of that yardage is going to go for naught. Vincent Flowers, who I thought was going to make the tackle at the 40, was clipped, was held. They're going to call a holding penalty. So that'll move the ball back and nullify a fine run by number 32, Doug McDonald, on the option. So rather than the big gainer, the ball moved all the way back to the Charger 45-yard line. And it'll be 1st down and 20 for the Chargers. And Ernie, Terry Brantley's hurt, number 34.
Yeah, he's out of the ball game. No, he's still in the ball game.
Trent to throw the ball. He's looking for Pierce on the outside. J.J. Morris almost making a great play on Trent in the backfield. And as it is, Trent loses another 3 yards.
And that was a good play that time by J.J. Morris. He did all the right things. He got his hands up, and he kept Trent from throwing the ball and almost made the sack and forced him out of the pocket.
We delayed him long enough to allow the defense to catch up. It's now 2nd down and 23 for the Chargers. Over the middle, intended for number 7, Scott Begg, falls incomplete. So it'll be 3rd down and 23 for the Chargers.
Of course, J.J. Morris is a lot of man to be handling around in there. 6 feet, 211 pounds, junior. So that's another country heard from, because I don't think he played in the first 2 ball games, did he?
I don't remember. 3rd down and very long for the Chargers. Trent once again puts it across the middle to McDonald out of the backfield. McDonald fumbles the ball. The ball picked up by Mike Marcelli, and Marcelli is crunched at midfield. Or rather, Brian Grant throwing a block for Marcelli. Mike Marcelli picked up that fumble and returned it across midfield to the Charger 42-yard line.
Well, that's too bad, because that was a good play that time, and he had running room, and he actually threw the ball to the ground, shifting it from one arm to the other. So the turnover, however, a good break for the Conquistadors.
So it's 1st and 10 at the 47. I didn't get the number of the player that knocked that ball loose. Well, maybe we can see that in the replay. The give is to Davis. Davis across the 45 to the 43-yard line. A pickup of 4. It'll be 2nd and 6.
So for the first time tonight, though, with that possession, we saw some offense out of the Chargers.
A great call on 3rd and long. Fitz Wilson limping around. Wilson. The ball is to Kenny Walton, and Walton don't want to quit. He's across the 35 to the 34-yard line. Pick up a 7. It's 1st and 10, Cabrillo.
A good run that time. Wilson was limping right at the end of the first half, and he has some ankle problems, and I would be surprised if we see them run that option anymore tonight, because I don't think he can
Wilson just barely made that handoff. Wide to the right is Tim Smart. The give is to Davis through a big hole. Davis across the 30. Davis takes the ball down to the 27-yard line to pick up of 8. And it'll be 2nd down and 2 for the Conquistadors. So once again, this Conquistador offense just looking invincible. They've only stopped themselves. Tim Morgan, wide right. Rod Davis once again across the 25 down to the 24-yard line. Another 1st down.
So Cabrillo coming out here in the 3rd quarter, just as they did at the beginning of the game, and moving the ball very well against this Charger defense. 6 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Cabrillo leading in the ball game 7-0.
Teeman and Duncan at the tight ends. Deal goes wide to the right. Davis, Walton, and Wilson in the background. And the give is to Kenny Walton, and Kenny Walton so quick through the hole. Rips off a few more yards down to the 12-yard line, called it the 13 of the Chargers.
Well, let me get it right this time, because I don't want to make a mistake. Ruben Soto just one heck of a block there to spring Walton loose on that last play.
You know, it's a pleasure to block for a back that gets through in that much of a hurry. It's 1st and 10 at the 13-yard line. Once again to Davis. Davis across the 10.
So Davis down now to the 9-yard line. Cabrillo keeping the ball on the ground, 5 minutes, and they're eating up a lot of that clock as they do. 5 minutes, 6 seconds left to go. So Cabrillo moving the ball very well on the ground at this time.
2nd and 6. Ball at the 9. Once again to Davis, a big hole. And the ball's loose on the ground. Davis had a big hole to go through. Couldn't hang on to the ball. 4-yard gain on the play.
Actually, he lost 2 yards on the fumble.
The ball just short of the 5-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 2.
So Cabrillo can get the first down without getting a touchdown.
Wilson on the give to Walton this time, and Walton just crosses the 5 and gets wrapped up. It's almost as though the Chargers knew the play in advance.
They did. They defense that play very well, and that brings up a 4th down. And I think the Conks are going to go for it.
4th and 1.5. And there's timeout on the field. The Cabrillo Conquistadors calling timeout with 4 minutes and 1 second remaining in the third quarter. And we'll be back.
4th down, a yard to go for Cabrillo for the first down. 3 yards to go, 4 yards to go for the touchdown. This is a big 4th down. Cabrillo going to go for it with 4 minutes, 1 second left to go in the third quarter. They lead in the ball game 7-0. And in the second half, both teams able to move the ball offensively, with the Chargers unfortunately giving the ball up on a turnover on the fumble, as they were moving the ball very well, and Cabrillo taking advantage of that now have moved the ball down to the 4-yard line. So Cabrillo can get a first down without scoring the touchdown. It'll be 4th and 1 for the first down and about 4 yards to go for the touchdown, G.
4th and 1. If they don't make this, they can look back at that fumble by Davis, who lost a couple of yards having to go back and get the ball. This time, Wilson elects to keep the ball himself, and it'll be close. The ball at the 3-yard line. The officials wanting to take a good look at that. It's awfully close. And they'll bring in the sticks. I tell you, I think this offensive unit of the Cabrillo Conquistadors ought to take that defense out to dinner.
They really should, because they've kept them in this ball game.
This play that gave them the ball in this series was just a heads-up play by a couple of defenders, Mike Marcelli ending up with the ball, and they've given the offense good field position all night long. So we'll see as they stretch it out. It's first down by the length of the ball. 1st and goal for the Conquistadors at the 3-yard line. 3 minutes and 56 seconds remaining as the Conquistadors now knocking at the door send Mike Deal wide to the right. Quick pass over the center intended for the tight end, Scott Duncan, and no call on that play, but that could well have been an interference
I
call.
thought it was. In fact, I thought, and I think what happened was that the head lineman was screened out, because it looked as if the defender actually pushed the receiver to the ground. We'll look at it here closely on the replay, but from our vantage point, that's the way it looked.
So it'll be 2nd and goal from the 3. This time the give is to Davis. Davis bumps off the block, and he might have got a half a yard. They give him a full one. He'll be down to the 2-yard line. So it'll be 3rd down and goal to go at the 2. And that was good defensive line play on the part of the Chargers. They stood the offensive line straight up, and Davis had no place to go.
Now, that's interesting. Wilson actually went to the sideline and called for them to send Tim Smart into the ball game, which the coaching staff did. And it's going to be interesting now to see. Maybe he has timing better with Smart. Let's see.
Over the middle to Tiemann, and Tiemann, the tight end, can't hold on. So the Chargers playing inspired defense here as the Conquistadors knocking at the door. And Mike Sullivan now in with the kicking tee. The Conquistadors with 4th and goal at the 2, taking no chances. Will attempt the 3rd field goal. Will be the 3rd field goal attempt of the night. The ball will be kicked from the 10. It'll be a 20-yard attempt. And it's good. So with 3 minutes exactly remaining here in the third quarter, it is the Cabrillo Conquistadors 10 and the Dos Pueblos Chargers nothing. And we'll be back with the kickoff right after this word from Discount Furniture.
So there you see, ladies and gentlemen, 3 minutes left to go in the third quarter. The score, Cabrillo 10, Dos Pueblos nothing, and we're lined up now for the kickoff after the 20-yard field goal by Sullivan for Cabrillo.
Esparza and McDonald back deep to receive. We have a penalty on the kickoff.
Offsides, Cabrillo.
So they'll back it up 5 and try it again.
Cabrillo got away with that twice because he's been offsides every time they've kicked the ball off. It's the left end on the kickoff team. This time he got caught. David Cavanagh, number 46.
He wants to get down there and bump some heads.
Well, it's a timing thing. He starts running before they actually kick the ball, and if the timing is off the least bit, it makes him look kind of foolish, but actually you can't really say it's his fault because he's told to go full speed right from the gun.
Back deep now, Caesar and McDonald, the starting backs for the Chargers, as Brian Grant will try it again from his own 35-yard line.
Actually, it's Pyro that's out here wide.
Grant gets a little bit under the ball, and it's fielded by Ronnie Alvarado, one of the up men, and Alvarado returns it to the 29-yard line of the Chargers, where it's 1st and 10, Dos Pueblos.
So we're inside 3 minutes here now in the third quarter. Cabrillo on top 10-0. And I would say that Dos Pueblos should feel very lucky to even still be in this ball game.
I expect we're going to see Gary Trent, the quarterback, number 17, throw that ball a lot, looking for Pierce and looking for those backs out of the backfield. It was successful for him in the second and third quarters here so far. Trent looking outside for Pierce, the wide receiver. He's got it at the 33-yard line and pulled down at the 35 by number 48, Vincent Flowers. A 6-yard pickup. That's Pierce's first reception. He had one nice reception in the first half, called back because of a penalty. It'll be 2nd down and 4 for the Chargers. The ball resting right at the 35-yard line. We're going to see if Cabrillo's pass defense is up to the task. Begg and Pierce both coming wide to the right. The pitch is to McDonald. McDonald with some room to run. He's up to midfield, just shy of midfield, before being tackled down at the 47-yard line. A 12-yard pickup. And that was a nice call in the passing situation.
Nice call, and actually Terry Brantley had a shot to be a big hero. As they passed through that ball right past him, he actually ran past the ball carrier, so intent on getting to the quarterback that time.
It's 1st and 10 at their own 47 for the Chargers. Stanley Pierce out to the right side. The give is inside to number 44, Tom Crawford. And Crawford on his first carry moves the ball just across midfield.
Ball carried by Tom Crawford, number 44. Stopped by Brantley, number 34.
So pick up 2, it'll be 2nd down and 8.
Gain of 3 yards, 2nd and 8. The ball is at the 50-yard line.
Little mix-up that time by the Chargers.
Trent on the option. Pitches back to McDonald, and once again McDonald's got some green, and he's across the midfield stripe to the 45-yard line of Cabrillo. 5-yard pickup. And it'll be 3rd down and 3 at the Cabrillo 45-yard line.
Well, as you can see on the replay, it looked as if he really had a chance to run with that ball, but then Cabrillo very quickly shut down any running room that he had because the blockers were in front of him.
3rd and 3 for the Chargers. On the draw, the give is to number 43, Darren Caesar, and Caesar gets maybe a half a yard. We'll say it's 4th and 3 now for the Chargers.
Fourth down coming up for and that more than likely will be the last play of the third quarter. We're down to 4:3, 2 seconds. And there it is. That's the end of the quarter. So with 3 quarters of history in this ball game, Cabrillo leads in the ball game by a score of 10-0. And we'll be back with the 4th and final quarter after this.
12 minutes of football. The Cabrillo Conquistadors on top by a score of 10-0. As Trent pitches back to McDonald, that ball's loose on the field and finally covered by number 14, Alex Cruz. And once again, just when it seems like things are going the way of the Chargers, something crops up and bites them.
Well, they certainly have no one to blame for them but themselves for tonight's ball game. They have an opportunity to move the ball and move it well against Cabrillo. And as you say, every time seems like they get something going, they come back, they have a fumble, or they certainly haven't had the interceptions. And the Cabrillo secondary certainly hasn't reacted in this ball game like they did in the second half of the game that we saw them play against Nordo.
Once again, the Cabrillo defense gives the offense some fine field position. The ball resting just short of midfield. And Cabrillo offense now having a little trouble getting started as Coach Bob Radford sends on number 12, Brian Grant, to pull quarterback chores here in the last quarter.
Well, I thought that at the beginning of the third quarter that Fitzgerald Wilson was hobbling noticeably, and he managed to play the third quarter. And I don't know if you noticed it, Gene, but at the end of the third quarter, he could hardly actually walk, much less run with the ball. So the coaching staff very wisely putting Brian Grant, 5'9", 148-pound junior, in there at quarterback, and we saw him play some in the ball game last week, and he didn't do a bad job.
Brian Grant quarterbacked that very successful Frosh Soft team at Cabrillo last year, and all he needs is some varsity experience, and he'll be a good one. They're not giving away any speed. In fact, probably picking up a little speed here with Brian Grant. He's untested with his arm in varsity competition so far, but they're certainly not losing much by putting Grant in at quarterback. With a 10-point lead here in the fourth quarter, 11 minutes, 32 seconds to play, this will be a good time for Grant to get some of that experience. It's going to prove very valuable as the season progresses.
Well, it may well be that Wilson could play, but like you said, there's really no point in taking a chance really on late play if you didn't have to use him. Dr. Kirschwin is over there, and in fact, Wilson was just talking to him, so I'm sure that whatever his decision is will be the one that the coaching staff will make.
Tim Morgan wide to the left. Davis and Walton have gone all the way in the backfield. Brian Grant on his first series of downs keeps it on the option play. Now that play was pretty well defensed by the Dos Pueblos Chargers. The pitch man, Rod Davis, was covered every inch of the way out, and Grant, just by sheer speed, made it around the end and picked up about 2 yards on the play.
Well, they gave him 3, and as you say, Cabrillo certainly didn't lose any speed putting him in there because he's a lot quicker once he gets running than Wilson was.
It'll be 2nd down and 8 for Cabrillo. The ball at the 48-yard line. Grant on the give to Kenny Walton, and Walton maybe gets one, but he's hit hard at the line of scrimmage.
What I think Cabrillo will lose, though, with Grant, and we'll have to wait and see because we don't know, is that Fitzgerald Wilson passing tonight certainly was on target, and we'll have to wait to see, and I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to see here if Grant can measure up to the task of throwing that ball as well as Wilson.
3rd and 7, the ball at the 47-yard line. Tim Smart wide to the right. Grant on the option once again, evades a tackler. He's got the first down and a bunch more. So there we see the speed once more of Brian Grant. And Grant is so quick around that end that those people frequently don't have a chance to pursue.
Well, that was just as good as a pass. I mean, I wasn't 100% wrong.
He might have thrown it.
Yeah, he might have thrown it, but he can move just as fast as the ball.
11-yard pickup by the junior quarterback, Brian Grant, makes it 1st and 10 at the 31-yard line for the Cabrillo Conquistadors. 9:50 remaining in the game. On the option, Grant keeps it, pitches back to Davis on a finely tied pitch, and Davis has got some room and just can't leg it in. What a nice play by Brian Grant.
Oh my goodness. Now this is something, is working in Cabrillo's favor to this point. Dos Pueblos hasn't seen a lot of Grant on film. And they came off that bench with a ball player.
Certainly did. Brian Grant, with his speed, they've got to react to his speed.
That's right.
He comes out on the option much quicker than Fitz does. and made a nice pitch. That was a make it or break it play. We could have looked awful bad at the same time, and then the good speed of Rod Davis moves the ball all the way to the 6-yard line, where it's 1st and 10 Conquistadors. The give is to Kenny Walton, and Kenny Walton has just said hello to a Charger.
They've seen a lot of him on films. That's obvious right there.
Yes, indeed. And the Charger down on the field, a little slow getting up.
But I like this. You know, 68. Now he got up. He's hurting a little bit, but he got up and he rubbed it. And I like this playing on this dirt. They rubbed a little mud in it. And now he's ready to go. John Freitag. Look at him. He's coming out of the ball game, but he's running all right.
For 2nd and goal at 5, the give is to Davis, and Davis untouched, off tackle into the end zone from 5.
Well, that was just a good play, running right up behind the right tackle and the right guard. And now Davis is down in the end zone. So he got up and ran over to the, he's got a cramp is what it is. And, you know, that feels like your whole leg is going to drop off. But actually, as soon as they run it out, he'll be all right. The ball players for Cabrillo, though, had no parts of it. They ran away from him as soon as they saw him squirming around there in the end zone. With 8 minutes, 36 seconds left to play in the ball game, Cabrillo now leading on that run by Davis by a score of 16-0, and we'll be back with the try for extra point after this.
To try the point after for the Conquistadors, number 25, Mike Sullivan. Sullivan's kick is no good, and the score remains the Cabrillo Conquistadors 16 and the Dos Pueblos Chargers nothing, with 8 minutes, 36 seconds remaining in the ball game. A commanding lead now by the Conquistadors. And we'll be back with the kickoff right after this message.
8 minutes, 36 seconds left to play in the ball game. Cabrillo on top now, 16-0, as a result of the touchdown by Davis from 6 yards out. So it'll be Grant kicking off for Cabrillo.
We'll be kicking off to McDonald, and looks like Alvarado. Caesar, that's right. And Caesar takes the ball at the 3-yard line, and he simply ran past the pileup. We had 18 ball players piled up at the 20-yard line in the middle of the field, and Caesar simply ran around it. And it'll be 1st and 10 Chargers at the 25-yard line. And Ernie, going back to that touchdown run by Rod Davis, a lot of credit has to go to the right offensive end. Poor Cabrillo made a great block to put Davis in the end zone.
Yeah, he did. Nobody ever touched Davis. And another thing, the quickness of Brian Grant. He handed that ball off before they really realized it.
1st and 10 at the 24-yard line. On the delay, the give is to Darren Caesar, and Caesar's up across the 25 to the 26. It'll be 2nd down and 8. So the Chargers now, in desperate straits, going to have to put one on the board on this series of downs, or pretty much call it a night. Trent wants to throw the ball to McDonald out of the backfield, and he throws it behind him, and the ball falls incomplete. And it'll be 3rd down and 8, the ball at the 26.
Got big that time, ran a route that kind of brought the man that was covering him, Sullivan, right into the flow. And so I would think that maybe somebody ran the wrong route that time.
Trent is 3 for 6 here in the second half. A vast improvement over his first half performance.
We have number 80 in the ball game now, and as we do in every game, he's somebody we don't know who he is.
Trent being rushed very strongly by number 55, John Roberts, and is trapped all the way back at the 11-yard line. A fine pass rush that time.
Roberts and number 33 also, Steve Pyro, in on it on the tackle, and Roberts with a little gas to no dance when he gets up.
So a loss of 15 on the play. It'll be 4th down, and as far as the Chargers are concerned, 4th down and forever. With 7 minutes to play, they trail by 16 and are going to have to kick it away. Scott Begg, number 7, standing in his own end zone. Back to receive Flowers and Grant. Begg hits it at the 2. And it's Kenny Walton at midfield with the ball. Walton trying to find some room to run. Gets around the corner. We have two penalty flags at midfield.
They are both thrown on the same one, and it was obvious, just a clip in the back or blocking from behind for Cabrillo. So that'll back it up 15 yards. And the Conks will take over 1st and 10 from their own 35-yard line.
Once again, the defense handing the offensive unit great field position.
Flipping is called against Cabrillo.
Brian Grant, who engineered such a fine drive in that last series of downs, will repeat at quarterback with 6:42 remaining in the ball game. And Ernie, we need to notice, we haven't paid much attention, but in that small crowd across the way that came down from Lompoc to view this game, we see the drum section of the Cabrillo Pet Band, and that's good to see. It had a little noise and a little bit of enthusiasm over in the stand. So congratulations to the drum section, and I see some horns over there as well from the Cabrillo Band. 1st and 10 at the 35-yard line. Grant on the keeper is across the 35 and picks up about 3 yards.
That, I don't know if that was a busted play or what, but Grant certainly did all of that on his own. It was the option that they were trying to run. And you're talking about the drums, and they even brought a pom-pom fellow with them.
Yes, they did. They've got those people over there, a lot of them on their feet. And that's something we really didn't see when we went to San Luis Obispo. There weren't many people in the stands, and there wasn't much noise, but that's not true. There aren't many people tonight, but there is a lot of noise. They give this to Kenny Walton, and Kenny Walton blazes through the hole. He's got one man to beat. Cuts back at the 32-yard line. Is finally wrestled down by number 85, Alan Rowley, at the 30-yard line of the Chargers.
Now, something that must have happened during the week is that Brian Grant must have practiced a lot with these running backs, because the timing and precision between he and these running backs has been almost perfect. There has been no difference in the handoffs, and he being much quicker than Wilson, then Davis and Walton must be aware that he's in the backfield, and they're moving a little quicker.
Walton, absolutely the quickest back they've got through the hole. 32 yards, the longest ground play of the ball game. This time, Grant can't hold the ball. We've got a penalty flag. Brian Grant looks like he bumped it off the side of the back, and the ball was loose on the ground all the way back to the 35-yard line.
That wasn't a flag he threw in there, I don't think. I think it was a ball marker he threw in there to show where the ball actually hit on the fumble. Yeah.
That was my next guess.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So the ball all the way back to the 35-yard line. Lots of 5 on the play. And it'll be 2nd down and 15 for the Conquistadors. 4 minutes and 50 seconds and counting remaining in the ball game. Grant to throw the ball for the first time. Looks over the center for Jay Tiemann. The ball intercepted at the 26-yard line by number 60, Mike Taggart.
A good reaction that time by Taggart. Brian Grant never saw him. He played off the ball well, and he was playing the ball, and Grant threw the ball that time into some traffic, and he never actually saw the ball player that came across and made the interception. So another turnover for the Conks.
It's 1st and 10 at the 30 for the Chargers. They have 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining to do something here with the football. They trail by 16. It's 16-0. Trent to throw the ball again, looking over the middle. And what goes round comes round, as Mark Nuffs is the intended receiver. And that ball picked off by number 33, Steve Pyro, and we turn around and go the other way.
So Cabrillo lost 5 yards on the turnover. So that's the first interception for the Conks tonight.
First down and 10 yards for the Conquistadors at the Charger 40-yard line. Under 4 minutes on the option. It's Brian Grant penalty flag thrown into the middle of the line. Grant hit hard from behind on the option.
The umpire threw that flag, so more than likely it's going to be holding against Cabrillo. One thing about that umpire, he throws the flag up. In fact, he threw it up out of the lights this time. Holding against Cabrillo, the umpire throwing the flag there.
So again, Cabrillo plagued by penalties here in the second half. Unofficially, I have him for over 30 yards, about 35 yards in penalties here in the second half. So they're going to approach another 100 yards in penalties. And that's still far too many. Last week against Nordhoff, they played penalty-free in the first half, and then went berserk in the second half, picked up more than 50 yards in penalties. And tonight, as I say, about 80 yards so far. Holding penalty moved the ball back to the Cabrillo 45-yard line. It'll be first down and 25 yards for the first. 3:45 and counting here in the game. Deal wide to the left. The give is to Rod Davis, and this time Davis quick through the hole, looks for a block from Mike Deal, and Mike couldn't get the angle on that safety. He tried, but he was smart enough not to throw the block.
Well, he was, and because had he thrown it, it would have been another 15-yard penalty. But a good pickup that time. He got back to 15 yards that they lost on the penalty, so it'll be third down now, or second down and 10 for Cabrillo, so they get back to 15 yards they lost on the penalty.
3:10 remaining in the ball game. Brian Grant has played all of the fourth quarter on offense for the Conquistadors so far. Fitz Wilson taking a rest and giving some rest to an injured ankle as Grant keeps the ball on the option, breaks free of the tackler and is across the 30-yard line. And he just showed some nice motion in there, too. He can put the juke on.
Yes, he did. He made a move out there at the 30-yard line. In fact, he just ran away from one man and had him by the jersey. We got another Charger down. And it's number 79 this time. Stuart Morhaney, but he's up. But Grant just showing an exceptional amount of speed, and then, as you say, right at the 30-yard line, making a good move on a defender to pick up another 7 or 8 yards.
First down and 10 at the 21-yard line after a 19-yard gain by the quarterback, Brian Grant. On the give to Davis, once again a huge hole on the right side as Davis moves down to the 14-yard line. A 7-yard pickup by Rod Davis. And Ernie, we've got to give some more recognition to that right side of that offensive line.
Well, 73, Vivi Miranda, 77, Kurt Clemens that time, opening up just a huge hole that time on the right side of that offensive line for the Conquistadors.
Second down and 4 yards for the Conquistadors. Davis once again over the top. Gets a couple. The ball down to the 12-yard line.
Now we got a flag thrown after the play. And it's going to be, I don't know against whom, but it's going to be unsportsmanlike conduct against somebody. The Conks are backing up, so apparently it's going to be against them.
So rather than having third down and less than 1, we have an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty being called against the Conquistadors, and that'll back it up 15.
Well, it was against the ball carrier, I think, Davis. It wasn't what he did, but it was what he said. He said something back, and as soon as he said it, the flag was thrown. Lost down.
There's a dead ball foul as after the whistle, so it'll be third down and about
well, yeah, not a loss
18 yards.
Not a loss of down, but a dead ball foul.
Brian Grant once again on the option play, getting a nice block on the outside, and that's a hard block to hold, and it was held a long time out there.
I could get the number either.
By number 22, Steve Frank. Steve Frank at wide receiver held that block out there for a good 3 ticks of the clock and allowed Brian Grant to move the ball down to the 15-yard line.
And on the field now is Mike Sullivan to attempt the field goal from the 21-yard line, so it'll be a 31-yard attempt as Cabrillo calls timeout so they can get the team out there. And with that timeout, with 56 seconds left to play in the ball game, we'll be back after this word from Medical Center Park.
56 seconds remaining in the ball game as Mike Sullivan in to attempt a 33-yard field goal. And the ball is blocked by number 80. Sullivan brings it back down and is looking to advance the ball. Brings it to the 21. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Chargers.
And we got another Charger down across the field, and again it's number 79, Stuart Mahini, down again holding his right knee, and this time he doesn't pop up as gingerly as he did the time before, and we're going to get a timeout call on the field for the injury. So with 46 seconds left to play in the ball game, Cabrillo leads 16-0. When we come back, it'll be 1st and 10 to go for the Chargers with 46 seconds left to go in the ball game. 46 seconds left to play in the ball game. Cabrillo on top, 16-0. It'll be those Pueblos ball, 1st and 10. Mahoney walking off under his own power, which is a good sign, although he is limping. But he has played just an outstanding ball game for the Chargers tonight. And I'm sure, I certainly hope that he'll be ready to go next week.
Number 80, the man who blocked that kick, Chris Alcocer. So 1st and 10, Chargers at their own 21-yard line. Trent airs it out, has Abbott at the 40, and he's down across the 45 before being crunched.
Tim Morgan now in at free safety for Cabrillo. Those Pueblos going without a huddle. Cabrillo with a man way off sides here.
26-yard pickup. It's 1st and 10 at the 47-yard line for the Chargers. And they want to use the time. They want to have it look respectable as Trent once again looking to throw the ball. Hits Alcocer on the right side. A pickup on the play of about 3 yards. Call it 4.
Brad Bunker now in at one corner for Cabrillo, and number 27, Marco Milton at the other corner. Morgan is one of the safeties, and now a timeout is called because of the ball boy. They had 2 footballs on the field.
So the Chargers trying to use these last seconds to put some points on the board. They trail 16-0, and they know they can't win it, but they'd like to score.
Okay, let's see if we can get some of these substitutions now. Cabrillo with Morgan, Milton, Brad Bunker in the backfield. They have number 67, Steve Smith at a linebacker.
Smith with an interception at San Luis Obispo.
J.J. Morris at one tackle, and Roberts is at the other tackle. Jay Tiemann is in at a linebacker. Trying to get these numbers for you as they've made a lot of substitutions here now, the Conks have, with just 15 seconds left to play in the ball game. Now Mike Deal is in at the corner, and Mark Warden is in defensively for Cabrillo. So it's Warden, Morgan, Smart.
2nd down and 7 as Trent wants to throw the ball. And he's looking for the tight end Abbott. And he overthrows him with just 9 seconds remaining in the ball game. It'll be 3rd down and 7. But in this instance, it's 3rd down and 50. They need the touchdown.
Yes, they do.
So once again, the Cabrillo defense just having, in my opinion, an excellent ball game. They gave the offense good field position all night long. And at least here in the second half, the offense finally breaking loose and showing some stuff. 3rd and 7. Trent to throw the ball again. Gets McDonald out of the backfield. McDonald's got a lot of room to run. And Tim Morgan puts the crunch on at the 35. A 15-yard pickup.
1 second left to go, and Morgan made a good play that time because he could have come up and cut him a couple of yards short, but he can see the clock. He knows how much time it is to go. So he made that tackle short because he doesn't want him to score. And the Chargers called their last timeout with 1 second left to go in the ball game. As their quarterback now, Gary Trent, comes over and gets the 17-point play from the coach. As that's what they're going to need to win this ball game. The first time tonight we see on the field for Cabrillo, their head coach, Bob Radford, comes out instead of the offensive or defensive coordinator.
Okay, Ernie, you're the coach. You're up by 16. There's 1 tick left on the clock. 35 yards to go for the opposition. What do you tell your team? You're up by 16. You're Bob Radford down there. What do you tell them?
Good ball game, man, and we won another one. What else do you tell them? Huh? You played a good game.
Take two of those big fast guys and stick them on the goal line.
Yeah. Good ball game, man. We won another one, either 16-0 or 16-7.
The Conquistadors now deploying in what's called a victory defense or a prevent defense. They have Vincent Flowers clear back at the 7-yard line. Tim Smart and Tim Morgan are 20 yards off the line of scrimmage. They're just making sure nobody scores. They'll give them any play they want as long as they don't score. Trent will throw the ball over the middle to Abbott. Abbott has the ball down to the 15 to the 14-yard line, but it don't matter.
Yep, they can turn out the lights. The party's over. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The final score in the ball game: Cabrillo 16, Dos Pueblos nothing. Something I do see that I hate to see: number 68, John Freitag, being carried off the field with ice and a wrap on his ankle. So let's hope, for the sake of the Chargers down through the year, that he's able to come back and play ball for them.
16-0, the Cabrillo Conquistadors on top of the Dos Pueblos Chargers, and we'll be back with the statistics and a final word right after this. Well, Ernie, 16-0, the Cabrillo Conquistadors defeating the Dos Pueblos Chargers, and after a slow first half, the second half, the Conquistadors looked a little better.
Well, I thought they did. I thought they looked offensively. They looked all right in the first half. The thing is that they couldn't put the ball in the end zone, and they were making some mistakes. Penalties hurt them. But this was certainly the best ball club that they've played against this year, and they've done well against them. So Cabrillo is a team to be reckoned with, I'm sure, for the remainder of the year, as they looked good out there tonight, and we saw some play out of some people that you wouldn't ordinarily have seen play or under different circumstances. Certainly Brian Grant would have to be given a lot of commendation, or commend him a lot for the play that he had there in the fourth quarter as he came in to relieve Fitzgerald Wilson.
He did a great job. The thing that impressed me, besides the defense, which we remarked about all night, the defense gave the ball to the offense in great field position so many times, and in the first half, the offense not able to do anything with the ball, it seemed, except move it down to the 30-yard line or so. In the second half, a little bit better. But again, a great balanced attack on offense. They threw the ball well, they threw it when they had to, and then you bring both of those running backs, Davis and Walton, were just outstanding tonight.
Well, that's true, and Fitzgerald Wilson ran well for him in the first half. That's something I'm sure that as the season progresses, they're going to get away from if they can, because they don't want to run him a lot, because he does have a history of the bad ankle, and as it showed up there tonight. But certainly they don't lose too much when they bring Grant in there at quarterback as far as their running game. I think the difference in the two ball players, as we saw here tonight, is in the passing game. Fitzgerald Wilson, I think, 5 for 7 in the first half, and Grant unable to connect on any passes in the second half. But the passing game went well for him in the first half, as did the running game. Offensively, as you look back on the 3 games that we have seen, Cabrillo is awesome.
They are indeed awesome. We'll take a look at some of the numbers from this ball game. For Dos Pueblos, it has to be a disappointing night for them, Ernie. They only had 14 yards rushing in the second half, a total of just 40 yards on the ground for the ball game. Passing a little bit better. They had 102 yards in the air on the ball game, but a total yards for the ball game of 142 yards unofficially. That just isn't enough to win a ball game against a caliber of team at Cabrillo. So Dos Pueblos goes 0-3 on the season. The numbers, however, for Cabrillo were impressive. Fitz Wilson, before going out of the game at the end of the third quarter, had 67 yards on the ground. Rod Davis, the big carrier, 102 yards in 18 carries altogether, 2 touchdowns. Walton with 75 yards on the night, 53 of those in the second half, and Brian Grant with 44 yards in the fourth quarter. 170 yards total rushing yardage. Passing, there were no passing yardage in the second half for Cabrillo. Total yards, however, on the game, 288 on the ground, 77 yards all in the first half passing, 365 yards on the ball game. They've been averaging about 270. The big thing that we have to look at in this ball game that's really come to bite them, over 100 yards in penalties again tonight for the Conquistadors. Mike Sullivan, a good night. He had 1 point after, attempted 4 field goals, got one from 20 yards. As the Cabrillo Conquistadors go 3-0 on the young season and look forward at home next week to a real rousing tilt.
Well, and I think the scheduling has worked in Cabrillo's favor this year. They opened up against a ball club that was so-so. Then they come back and they play Nordorf, which again was a so-so team. They come here, they play a little better ball club in Dos Pueblos. Next week they're going to play a better ball club in Santa Maria. Santa Maria always tough, regardless of what the newspapers or the coaching staff over there says. Santa Maria always has a good ball club, or they always play well against Cabrillo. So Cabrillo now to face another test next week, and then they finish off their preseason against a perennial power in Southern California football, Antelope Valley. So the scheduling, I think, as well as anything else, is going to work in Cabrillo's favor.
We'd certainly like to encourage you all to get down to Houck Stadium for the ball game next Friday. But if you can't be there, join Ernie and myself right here at noon on Saturday on Group W Cable TV 21. Good night.